our current events message for this week will be titled Unexpected Paths to Victory. Unexpected Paths to Victory. You know, last week a friend of mine told me it wasn't healthy to keep talking about election fraud and Trump still having paths to victory. He thought I was delusional and maybe some kind of a quack in denial or something like that. Evidently, he wasn't paying attention to alternative news sites. He was only listening to Fox News, probably at the very most, and CNN, NBC, or whatever. But he made the comment. He says that I should just get used to the idea that Biden will be our next president. And you know, to me that sounds like obviously I was a little bit more informed on the issue than he was, but it's still a defeatist attitude. You know, this defeatist attitude is, oh, we just got to give up. There's nothing we can do. It's all over. And you know, my friend professes to be a Christian. This was all done on Facebook. It was a friend of mine from high school, but he hasn't, it's obvious he hasn't read all of the instances in the Bible where it seemed all hope was lost and darkness was about to prevail. And then all of a sudden, miraculously, God comes through and delivers the Israelites in one way or the other. It's happened over and over through the Bible. In fact, most of the victories that God's people have had have always been in a time where it looked like it wasn't going to be a victory. So, in my view here is I wouldn't give up hope. I would keep fighting until the end. But I'm going to read some scriptures from Exodus chapter 14, starting at verse 9. And I'll give an example of one of those times where it seemed all hope was lost, the Israelites were going to be defeated, and that was the end of the story. But Exodus 14:9 says, "But the Egyptians pursued after them, all the horses and the chariots of Pharaoh and his horsemen and his army, and overtook them encamping by the sea beside Pinhahiroth before Baal Zephon." Okay, and when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them, and they were sore afraid. And the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord. Okay, now picture this. God had just got done sending 10 plagues upon the Egyptians. 10 miraculous plagues to deliver the Israelites. And now he gets them out here, and they're by the sea, and they feel like they're trapped, that there was no path to victory. And now they're crying out to God. They're crying out to God in doubt here, wondering why was all their hope lost? And in verse 11, it says, "And they said unto Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore hast thou dealt with us to carry us forth out of Egypt?" So they said to Moses, "Hey, why did you even deliver us out of Egypt? Because now we're going to die. We're going to die." And that's the mentality of people without faith. Is God gives you some victories. He shows you his salvation. He shows you his strength and his ability to save, and then he brings you to a point to test you to see if you still believe. And most people fall into this line of thinking, oh, all hope is lost. Verse 12, "Is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, Let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness." Now think about this. The Israelites thought it would be better to serve the Egyptians than to be free. And that's the way the people are today. Is they don't, in their mind, they'd say, I'd rather just get back to normal, and instead of being free, we'll just, we'll concede to Biden. We'll just get back to normal, and then maybe coronavirus will go away and all these things. But you know what? Life is never going to get back to normal that way. Verse 13, it says, And Moses said unto the people, Fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom you have seen today, you shall see them again no more forever. The Lord shall fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. Okay, so Moses said, hey, there's still a path to victory here. Okay, don't give up hope, don't give up faith. But the people, they had no idea what it was going to be. They just were looking at their physical circumstance and seeing this Egyptian army coming and a sea in front of them and nowhere to go. And the Lord said unto Moses, Wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward. Now I want to think about that for a minute. Going forward. God wants his people to always move forward. Okay? Even if you're going to lose, it's better to go forward than to sit there and be doubtful and non-active. Okay? Verse 16, But lift up thy rod and stretch out thine hand over the sea and divide it, and the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. Now think about that. The title of this study is An Unexpected Paths to Victory. I mean, this is the most unexpected path to victory that you could think of. Your path going right through the sea. You know, you'd think that, okay, well, maybe there's a different way out. We'll go up the bank of the river and find a crossing somewhere else or something like that. Not directly through where the river or the sea was. Okay, so again, a seemingly impossible path to victory. Now, Donald Trump isn't Moses, but when we look at everything that he's done, it's obvious that. To me, anyways, it's obvious that God is using him to give us some victories, against the globalists, the leftists, the progressives, the anti-Christians, and so forth. I'm going to say this. So we got this, I'll fall back to this for a minute before we talk a little bit more about Donald Trump and this situation. There was another time when Satan thought he had the victory over Christ as Jesus was crucified on the cross. But then 3 days later, guess what? Jesus arose and Satan found out, that he actually lost. So it took him 3 days to figure that out. And I could give many more examples. There was a time when Samson was bound by he got his eyes poked out and he was bound by the Philistines. It seemed all hope was lost. Samson prayed to God to give him strength one more time, and then he knocked over the pillars and killed all of the lords of the Philistines. Again, we can't give up hope. There are unexpected paths to victory, and we could be on that path right now. But some would say, yes, but Pastor Ben, America's sins are too great. We're going to be judged and taken into captivity, just like the Israelites were by the Assyrians and the house of Judah was by the Babylonians. And yes, we've been talking about that in the book of Jeremiah, that could happen. And that's definitely an informed biblical position. But because it's obvious our national sins are great. However, at the same time, as we talked about a little bit last week, there are about half of our people, half of our nation, that do not support the LGBTQ and however many letters they're going to add to that movement, abortion, and godless socialism. They want America to remain free under God. Okay, so I do think we're in a little bit of quite a bit of a different position than the Israelites were back in during the time of Jeremiah. I think it got a lot worse, is basically what I'm saying, which gives me hope. If we got half of the country that wants to turn back to God, maybe God is going to deliver us from our enemies this time again. All right. And one reason I say that, or another reason I think that God might actually give us a path to victory here is because he's done so much up until this point. You know, in 2016, it looked like Hillary Clinton was going to win. The liberals would totally pack the Supreme Court, 7-2 possibly even. They would take away our Second Amendment, and we were going to go into this. We were going to go into the globalist one world government. It really looked like that was going to happen. But then miraculously, Donald Trump won the election against all odds and started, reversing all of the things that the globalists have been doing to America. So I can't help but think about that and think, well, I don't think God would start us on a path to victory just to turn around and then have it all fall apart on us. It doesn't seem to make sense. Moreover, this year, Ruth Bader Ginsburg dies, and Trump is able to appoint his third conservative Supreme Court justice, giving us now a 5-4 conservative majority, which really it should be 6-3 majority. But Roberts, we know Chief Justice Roberts votes with the liberals every time something actually important comes up. So we can't count on him. We just got to figure he's a liberal now. So we have a 5-4 majority in the Supreme Court. Again, the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg does not seem like an accident. It seems like God's hand is in this, giving, setting up a situation where we could have a path to victory. In fact, we even now have the opportunity to overturn gay marriage and abortion, which are two huge sins, two huge national sins. So we'll see. So someone say, well, that's wishful thinking. What are we talking about here? Paths to victory. Trump lost the election. Well, if you've been paying attention to the news lately, not the mainstream news media, but other news sources, you understand that there's all this evidence being presented of mass voter fraud by the Democrats, especially in all of the key battleground states. In fact, General Flynn says he does not believe for a second that the country will accept Vice President Biden as the next president. And he also says that President Trump has clear path to victory, but needs your help now. And he goes on and he believes that Donald Trump actually won every single one of those battleground states, and that he won the election by a landslide. Now, some would say, well, how would General Flynn know that? Well, General Flynn was high up in the, he was initially the national defense guy. In his time in the military, he was on, in positions where he would know all the cyber warfare and all this other stuff that's going on behind the scenes. So he's not just some quack, some weirdo. This guy was a highly decorated general that fought for our country and so forth. So my friend that thinks that I should just get back to reality, Trump lost the election, and it's like, so he probably has no idea that there are people like General Flynn that are not quacks. They're very credible, and they're saying that Trump still has a path to victory. We also know that the Trump lawyers, or they're not officially Trump lawyers, but the Sidney Powell and that Lynn guy, and then we have Rudy Giuliani. There are all these lawyers uncovering this evidence, okay? And we even saw evidence of voter fraud, and we even saw a video clip. I don't know if you guys saw it. I assume you probably did by now. But there was some video footage of Democrat, election people, ballot counters, grabbing ballots from under the tables when everybody was gone and running them through the machines. So these were fake ballots, no doubt, that they were running through these machines. And this was being done everywhere. I have no doubt, we know, actually General Flynn actually pointed out that in our county here in Minnesota, I was actually just at the building here recently to get a birth certificate. At the Sherburne County Government Center, there was a busload full of disabled people, and there was a witness there that saw these disabled people being told to vote for Biden. And so they were bringing all these people in that have no idea what they're even there for, probably. And they're just saying, here, you're going to vote. Yeah, okay, I'll help you vote. And I mean, it's sick and it's demented, but that's what's going on. So there's not just, we have the machines, the voting machines themselves. They say there's evidence that they switched enormous amounts of votes to Biden that were Trump votes, and so on. The study isn't meant to give you all the evidence of voter fraud, but my point is, people are uncovering this evidence. All hope is not lost. There are still paths to victory, and I don't want to be Debbie Downer here. We got some good things going on. There's another option. Let's just say the courts don't take it up. The courts are compromised. They're getting bribes from China, which no doubt many of them are. Or we have some Supreme Court justices that just don't have the courage to do what's right. Trump has another option. And I'll just read this little short letter to President Trump here. It says, "We will not stand by and watch foreign and domestic enemies further destroy our constitutional republic. 80 and more million of us request that you use the Insurrection Act, suspend the December Electoral College vote, and set up military tribunals immediately to properly investigate and resolve the cyber warfare 11/3/2020 election issue. Further, we request that you suspend the January 6th Georgia Senate runoff race and the January inauguration until this issue is resolved." So some people think, well, that's extreme. We don't want a president declaring martial law and doing away with the election results. But I would ask, what's more extreme? Or what to let, when you know that somebody should not be the president because of election fraud, what do? If you're the president, you swore an oath to uphold the Constitution against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. So in my mind, if I was the president, if I was President Trump, and you went through every other avenue to try to solve this, and yet beyond a shadow of a doubt that if this guy gets elected, he's going to destroy America, and if he or if he's put in office, he's going to destroy America. You've got to do something. You've got to save America. Think about this. Our country was born out of rebellion against the King of Britain. Okay? So and we fought a war. We physically fought a war over it. So to say that we just go along with something that's going to destroy our country is silly. We're at a point now where even if Biden was legitimately elected, we couldn't afford that, because he's an enemy of the Constitution. He's going to take away our freedoms. We couldn't have that. So even if the people were enough people were stupid enough to vote him in lawfully, we still can't survive with Biden as the president. I don't think. Anyways, so what happens if this all happens? What happens if President Trump gets this taken to the Supreme Court? It's possible the Supreme Court will, if they do their job, they'll rule that the election was invalid. And then each state, basically, I'm just going to give you the shortened version of it. Each state then will get one vote to determine who the next president will be if the Supreme Court says the election was invalid. And if that's done, 30 states are held by Republicans and 19 by Democrats. And that would mean that Trump would win by a 30-19 vote, and he'd be our president. Okay, so it doesn't go along. So that's how it works. One vote per state, and that's what would happen if the election was declared invalid. Then the state representatives, the state electors, would then vote for the president. So those are some possibilities of paths to victory for America right now. Am I saying that that's what's going to happen for sure? No, but I'm not going to give up hope. We're in a fight. There are people fighting, and now's not the time to be like my old friend there and say, oh, just get used to Biden being our president, because I'm never going to get used to an illegitimate, fraudulent president. We can't do that. Questions or comments?
Yeah, I'm 100% convinced, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that this was completely a fraudulent election and Trump did win. And not just because I feel that way, but because I have been in touch and listening to all different types of media, whether it's radio or TV or podcasts or just you name it. It's amazing, one, that people don't realize how much fraud there was because nobody's reporting it. Nobody that, in the mainstream media. And two, it's just amazing how much fraud there was and how they were able to get away with it. Everything from, there was another video just out where they caught him taking these like SIM cards or whatever they are, thumbnail.
Yep, USB port.
Drives,
yep.
And like doing these secret handoffs, and it just, again, we could go on and on about all the evidence because it's unbelievable. But the main thing to me is, one, well, hopefully that this gets figured out, but even if it didn't, if we don't do something about this, then our country is over because we'll never win another election because they've got a system figured out now of how to win, and we'll never win another election. They got it in the bag, so this has to be figured out, even if Biden does get in. And whatever, they can't stop this investigation. That's, to me, the most important thing, is that if they get away with this, they're going to keep getting away with it, just like they've done with all the other scams they've been doing. Nobody's going to jail. Nobody's getting arrested. So it just emboldens them to keep doing more and more, and they're getting away with it.
Yeah. Well, and if Biden was to get in fraudulently, by stealing the election, and they're able to steal the 2 Senate seats in Georgia, then it's a guarantee nobody will investigate this, and there's nothing we can do.
And we'll never win another election. And they're going to get rid of the Electoral College, is what they're planning on doing, and stacking the courts, of course, which means sin will just thrive in our country once they do that. This is a huge issue. This is a pivotal point in our country. Again, I want Trump in. I think Trump deserves to be in. But if that didn't happen, the bigger issue is that we have to make sure that this never happens again.
Right.
But it won't if they win. So it's kind of scary.
I mean, we're literally within weeks of knowing whether America will survive as a country or not.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing we'll have left, we'll have no political power if they're able to pull this off. The only thing we'll have left is either taking up arms or civil disobedience.
Or some kind of a separation from the country.
Yeah, or separation from the country. Or some other unexpected path to victory, right? So I don't want to say it's totally lost, but from the, from a natural standpoint, it just seems if they're able to pull this off, I don't see any other natural ways.
It was brilliant how they pulled it off.
Yeah,
it really was. They're so coordinated and so, when they knew that plan A was that he just wins the right way, and they saw that wasn't happening. So at that time when they all quit counting, all the pivotal states quit counting.
Yeah,
and that's when Plan B went into action, and it was brilliant. They had ballots coming out of everywhere.
Well, I remember when we were watching Fox News, and the one guy that breaks things down by county, he was comparing last year's the last election, the 2016 election, and how he was comparing the votes,
turnouts and percentages, and how well he did against Hillary versus how well he was or wasn't doing against Biden, and then he would even break it down to the number of votes that were coming in, and he just looked perplexed, like, oh, I can't believe that and then he even compared it to some of Obama's like how well Obama did, and how could Biden be outperforming Obama? Like just flabbergasted. How could this guy be getting more votes than Obama, who everybody actually really liked and was charismatic and all these things?
What was strange is they stopped kind of going to that guy, and before, it seemed like in the elections past, they let him just kind of keep going. They kept interrupting him, and I think it's because he's bringing up all these anomalies, and then you got to hide that stuff, because people are going to start asking questions. Well, this doesn't make sense.
And then
Why would
even compare to the state next to him, because one of them was Ohio, which wasn't really a battleground this time. He'd be like a county just across the border with a very similar working type, the people were the same. And he's like, I mean, look at how well Trump did here in this county, but just across the border. And so it was it makes zero sense. Just because they're not a battleground state, they didn't cheat on that county. And so that county totally went to Trump. But then this battleground state, it was all it was just.
Yeah, no, there's tons of evidence like that. And it was the perfect storm because the mail-in ballots is what did it.
Yeah.
That's how they really hide it.
And they could just create ballots if they want, or they can, it's just, it was the perfect storm, and they fully utilized it with the help of Satan, because that's the only way they can be so brilliant.
Well, and then going to bed, I knew something was not right. They said, we've got to stop counting votes. Was it Georgia? I can't remember, because some water main, they said some water main broke.
And then they sent everyone out of there.
Yeah.
Except for the people.
And that's when the ballots came from underneath the tables, right? And then.
Yeah, they sent everyone home.
But I remember when they said that on Fox News, that they had to stop counting because of a water main break. I was thinking, that's a strange coincidence.
Yeah, and same things with Michigan had stuff
the election workers needed to rest. Come on, this is one night a year.
Well, we know that the accusation, anyways, from Trump's attorneys is they had to stop the voting because their algorithms in the machines were not catching up by giving Biden enough votes, because they didn't expect Trump to get as many votes as he got, so their algorithm was breaking down, and they needed to change things.
Another issue, which there's all kinds of stuff about that. But I just think.
Well, we vote on those here. I believe that's Dominion.
Is it?
Yep, because you put your ballot in,
and
then I remember the lady saying, "Okay, now watch it go and see." Oh, yep, it counted. Now I'm like, did it really count?
Yeah, that's one thing that's changed. There can't be any more computer. Computer operated voting, because it's just ripe for hacking. You just got to be old fashioned. Walk in, vote, and count it the hard way.
And voter ID.
But they're way against that, because then once you do that, now there's no more fraud.
That's the thing. They have to be able to cheat to win. That's what it comes down to. Okay. So